Mikel Arteta was extremely disappointed with the penalty awarded to Brighton for something he has never seen in his life. It's a clash of heads between William Saliba and Joao Pedro. Anthony Taylor decided it is a penalty. What do you think, Dermot?
Certainly interesting. If you see, the problem is that once you see it and Anthony Taylor gives a penalty and you start examining it, you can't unsee it. And what you see is Pedro heads the ball onto Saliba's head. People say, well, he got the ball. He didn't. The ball struck him. The ball got him. But he does catch him with his head. They're stood up as well, so it looks even worse. But I think the referee gives a penalty on field. VAR has no right to overturn it.
There we go. So it does definitely hit Saliba's head before his head hits Joao Pedro. But what you're saying is there is a little nuance there.
No.
That it hit his head rather than he played the ball.
Good question there, and I want to get your opinions on that, ladies and gentlemen. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already, and make sure you are subscribing. Does it hit Saliba's head, or is Saliba trying to win the ball? I'd love to ascertain your opinion. We'll park for a moment that he said that VAR has no right to intervene. I don't even understand that. It got me thinking. I was so looking forward to the breakdown of this incident because it was a rarity. It was an accidental clash of heads. I've been called out for saying that all weekend. But unless you think Saliba headbutts him on purpose, it's therefore an accidental clash of heads. And that is a phrase that has always been used in football. So we're going to redefine that. There we go. But the touching his head. Does Saliba... Dermot Gallagher has said that Saliba didn't touch the ball touched Saliba. Let's say for a moment we all accept that as read. Okay, fair enough. We see what you mean. How does that start working then in standing tackles and slide tackles? Especially for penalties, free kicks, denying clear goal-scoring opportunities. And let me paint you a picture. Joao Pedro is running through on goal. Saliba makes a sliding tackle to win the ball. After Saliba is 50% of the way through his slide tackle, as we saw here, he already started his headed motion before Joao Pedro heads it. If Joao Pedro then goes to knock the ball around Saliba to avoid being tackled, so changes the direction of the ball, but it still touches Saliba's foot and knocks the ball out of the path of Joao Pedro, but then there's some follow-through. And not follow-through where he studs her on his shin, studs her on the knee, or he lunged in. Just catches his feet slightly. Okay? Nothing about this Saliba tackle a header at the weekend is deemed a red card offence. Is that no longer a clean tackle? Because Joao Pedro changed the direction of the ball after Saliba started his attempted tackle. And this is why we have to question these things. It's a fair answer from Dermot Gallagher. But then you start applying that logic to other areas of the game. Does it work? Give us your thoughts and give us your feelings.
You have to check it because it's a penalty. What I hear the VAR, I don't hear the referee. So the referee will feed his information, which is, I don't have any knowledge of what he says. The VAR then works on that and looks at the pictures. I think once the referee gives it on field, and he took his time, that's very interesting. He took his time, he thought about it, he gave a penalty. Once he's given it, I think when you see the pictures, you see he catches his head after he stood up as well. It's not as if two players have jumped in the air.
That's really significant because the question I asked at the weekend, and a lot of you were asking, is we've seen many head clashes of heads before. Most of the time a drop ball is given and no one's ever seen a penalty conceded. Interesting there from Dermot Gallagher that if they'd both been jumping, it would be different. The problem I have with that statement isn't the statement within itself. Well, why, if they're standing, is it different to if they're jumping? How can a clash of heads, an accidental clash of heads, be treated differently if you both jump versus you're both standing up? I would love to understand the distinction. I get why Arsenal fans feel disappointed. I understand why Arsenal fans feel frustrated. When you concede a penalty, which is as rare as rocking horse poo, I understand the frustration. But still, we haven't been given an explanation yet as to why. And now someone goes, it's a foul, Terry. But there are elements to this foul that need to be answered. Dermot Gallagher has thrown another dimension in now. Standing versus jumping. What do you make of that? Also, we made the point on it hitting Saliba's head, even though he's trying to win it with his head, versus winning the ball. What does that now do for all other types of tackles? I would love your thoughts and your feelings on this. Now, the other big incident of the weekend involved Fulham and Ipswich. We have to look at this because Liverpool and Arsenal have both been impacted by this in recent weeks.
Opportunity after a foul on Harry Wilson. The officials disagreed with that view. Dermot, who was right, who was wrong?
I think because he makes a heavy touch, it gives Darren O'Shea a bit more chance to get into the ball. So for me, it turned from obvious to possible. I think that's what the referee felt. VAR looks, thought there was enough doubt, and that's why it wasn't a red card.
Sue Smith is vehemently shaking her head.
No, do you know, I find these so hard. I think they're so difficult because if I'm the striker, if I'm Harry Wilson and I'm going through, I say that's a denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. I'm through on goal, 1v1, he's got to go. But then if you're a defender and you're O'Shea, was it O'Shea, I think it was, wasn't it? I'd be saying, I can get back there.
And I thought straight away that Darren O'Shea had done enough to get himself in position. So I thought straight away, yellow card's the right decision. I still stand by that because of the pace of Darren O'Shea as well. I think he'd have done enough to get round.
Now, I've got to stop him there. Do you remember when Saliba was sent off for Arsenal and Dermot Gallagher, Howard Webb, and everybody that was defending the decision said you don't take into consideration the pace of a player, the skill of a player, the goal-scoring ability of a player. It has to be objective. So I know this is not this is an ex-player talking, but because Dara O'Shea has got pace, is somewhat irrelevant. They're not meant to include that. Funny how they've changed their stance on this one.
Harry Wilson might have got a shot off. You could. Very difficult, isn't it? I think when you.
It isn't difficult though, and I'll tell you why. We can't show you the full footage because Sky will copyright us. But when you break it down, you can see, and there's a better angle here, a bigger angle. If you watch this, now the ball does get ahead of Wilson a little bit, but it isn't too much. Wilson is running at full pace, and if you watch the full clip, O'Shea to the left, the deepest Ipswich centre-back to the left-hand side, he isn't running at full speed yet. He's jogging. He's actually jogging. Wilson is already sprinting at full speed. Yes, he knocks the ball ahead of Davies. The goalkeeper isn't going to get there when you watch this and you're honest. He isn't getting there. And there is no way a player that's jogging, turning into sprinting, is getting to that ball before Wilson. Wilson is then going to have a shot from about anywhere between sort of 18 to 12 yards out on goal. It is a clear goal-scoring opportunity. They are not talking about the facts of this situation properly and correctly. And this is the issue I've seen all season with these. That is a stonewall red card. Stonewall red card. That is no different to the red card that Robertson received for Liverpool a few short weeks ago. Liverpool fans should feel aggrieved. They should be fuming at this. I mean, Fulham won't know what's happening. They've had two identical situations, yet two completely different outcomes. And by the way, the same pundits said Robertson had to go. If you watch that in full time, and I wish I could just go and watch the highlights on Sky Sports or wherever around the world you watch this, he isn't getting there. Wilson's at full speed. O'Shea's jogging. By the time he gets his legs, now he can get into a full sprint quickly because he's jogging. He ain't getting there. We all know this. But what I find crazy about this is Arsenal fans are going to feel aggrieved. The way this has been defended, the way multiple others have been defended, in the complete opposite way to which Saliba's was condemned, is an abomination. And as we state all the time on our Ref Watch show, they will often pick and choose their defence in hope that one, people forget what they've said before, and secondly, to defend the on-field and the VAR decision makers. They've had an absolute clanger here. It should be a red card. Now again, Terry, defending Arsenal. I thought Saliba should have been sent off as well. I'm talking about the inconsistencies of decisions. and then the cover-up from the pundits and the media to not send him off here is a disgrace. And if you're going to use the defence they've had today, you could apply that, considering that the Saliba red card was basically on the halfway line with a couple of covering defenders. Everybody slows down when they have the ball at their feet. You could make the argument for both these, like for both of them. And if it exists for both, then they should either both be reds or they should both be yellow cards. And we've got to start making the rules around this a little bit easier. We really, really do, because this is an abomination. And Liverpool will be feeling aggrieved today, and Arsenal will be feeling aggrieved today. Now, it wasn't the only bad decisions this weekend as well. The Man United game, it was annoying. We know it was an accident, but De Ligt conceded a penalty. You've got to take your medicine on that. But there were some other decisions in that game. The Darwin Núñez shoulder barge. Now, it wasn't a barge in the back. It wasn't a barge in the shoulder. He purposely smashed his shoulder into the face of De Ligt. How on God's green earth that wasn't given as a red card or even reviewed as violent conduct is beyond me. But it wasn't the only one. There was a moment in the game where Garnacho was given offside. And I remember it very clearly. Back at 2-2, we were in the ascendancy. We were cooking Trent. And Gary Neville went, oh, you can't be offside there. Criticised the player. And I get why, watching it in real time. I've now seen this freeze frame. Now, forget the lines. Somebody sent it to me. They've done the lines themselves. Don't worry about the lines. But Garnacho looks potentially onside to me. It looks very borderline. And he's attacking goal. The broken protocols from here, from VAR, let the attack proceed. Also, the referee, he's not even in line. He's not even in line as far as I can see. But the fact, and I've got to remember where Trent's head is as well. Your head can play somebody onside. You can head the ball. Absolutely ridiculous that this was just given instant on the pitch. Late in the game, United on top, should always be allowed to play out. And this, the Litz handball was rightfully given. The fact that we have still not seen a replay on UK TV of this potential handball, the fact that we don't know whether VAR reviewed it is a disgrace. Now, I've heard a few theories today. Terry, it actually hit Rasmus Højlund's hand. Terry, Rasmus pushes his arm up. Terry, I've heard some people say hit Konate's arm. All the more reason for us to see the replay then, right? I don't know. It looks a pen to me. Could be completely wrong. I'm going to hold my hands up if I was. Why were we showing no replay? The players appealed for it. The Man United fans appealed for it. Why are we not showing anything? I don't trust VAR. I don't trust the PGMOL. We've already seen in these two clips a complete hypocrisy from Saliba and Robertson's red cards to this one here against Davies. We've seen an ex-referee who is a mouthpiece for the PGMOL say that an accidental clash of heads is different if their feet are on the ground versus if they're jumping in the air, with no explanation as to why. We've heard him say that VAR has no right to intervene. Why not? He's also stated that if you go for make a challenge and the ball is played by the opponent you're challenging for first, and then it hits your leg, well, he said your head, but he's implied that if it then hits you, you haven't won the ball. You haven't won the ball, it just hit you. That's a can of worms if you start to open that up. This all just stinks. And many people will say, do you know what, Terry, I do think it was a yellow card, or I do think that it was a penalty that Arsenal conceded, and that is fair enough. And if it is, and it's that clear-cut as you say, and let's sit in your world for a moment, and by the way, I'm being objective. Just being objective here. Say you're right. Why is it so hard for them to be consistent in their explanation if they're correct? Something stinks. As ever, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again soon. Peace.